Hello, everybody. Due to unfortunate circumstances, I am awake. Therefore, I'm going to be doing the political compass test. Once and for all, we can find out if I'm really some right-winged bigot. Are you excited as I am? I literally just woke up, rolled out of bed, decided to do this. Why not? No makeup, bedhead. Look at me destroying, absolutely obliterating female stereotypes. Buckle up, Sophie. It's about to get political again. Okay, let's begin. Question number 1. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Maybe they identify just as national corporations. I'm off to a great start. Question number 2. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Nord Stream. Yikes. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I don't know. The way that question is worded is just kind of crappy. It's good to be proud of where you're from, but it's not because you were born there. You should be proud of the country you live in because it hopefully aligns with your values and how you want to live your life. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yikes. No. In general, I'm going to say no. Again, this is kind of a loaded question because in today's political climate, someone who is against the Second Amendment could say someone advocating for Second Amendment rights is their enemy. And I think that's just ridiculous. So that is just a way to manipulate. This reminds me of a personal story. When I caught a certain someone whom I was in a relationship with cheating on me with underage girls, he was very proud of the fact that he was able to take away some of my friendships. People that I considered friends for half my life were now defending someone who abused children. One ex-friend in particular basically aided and abetted him, betrayed me, and helped him out during the process. And I still have people in my life, connections that chose to defend him and believe him over me, even though I was a very real victim in that scenario. I cannot call someone my friend if they are defending that person or people that helped that person. When you have someone evil, they will manipulate anything to get their way. So in that regard, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yes, but I think that gets extrapolated in today's current society to, I believe in surgeries for minors, and anyone who disagrees is my enemy. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend, even though the enemy of my enemy could be nefarious, have bad intentions, but they're just pretending, going along with an agenda. Someone who is a narcissistic, sociopathic liar is going to do anything, say anything to make you be on their side. Those kind of people will say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So for that, I'm going to disagree, but I'm not going to strongly disagree because like in the situation I presented, there are some hard lines that you need to place with people sometimes. I just realized that I skipped a question. Okay, but I disagree with that anyway, so it works out. This is bait. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I mean, I just don't trust our government at all. The people that make the decisions on the top for international law are crooked and evil, but also the people that are in charge of the military are also evil. What international law are we talking about here? Military action for where and for what? Can I answer like none of the above on this question? There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I mean, it's misinformation and entertainment. People are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. I think so, but I mean, there is definitely a rise in racism these days, but it's not against who this test might think. I have been around the world. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in Asia. not just America. Because maybe like in America, it's more divided by class. I don't know. But I definitely think on a global scale, it's by nationality, unfortunately. At least at this current state. The middle class is destroyed. It's really hard to have a successful middle class because of inflation and all that. This is tough. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. What does it mean by control? Like lowering inflation versus lowering unemployment? I believe in a universal basic income. I think that would be good. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Yes, yes, yes. From each according to his ability to each according to his need. Keep what you work for. Now, that doesn't mean that people shouldn't have opportunities to get ahead. I don't believe housing, food, water, your basic needs should ever be a struggle financially, for example. So someone who has more ability to have something shouldn't necessarily have to give that to somebody else. I think the government should keep basic needs for people available always. The freer the market, the freer the people. Yeah. That reflection of our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded customer product. Strongly agree on that. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I think that people should be able to own land, but the problem is that big corporations basically own all the land now. I remember 2008. We lost our home in 2008. Is it regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society? I think I'm going to disagree with this. I don't like how it's worded. It's worded in a manipulative way, ironically. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. What does this mean? Taxing imports. Yeah, I agree, I think. The only societal responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Ugh. The rich are too highly taxed. Again, this is so vague. People get taxed a lot, even when they don't make that much. The mega rich, maybe they are taxed, but they have too many exemptions. So they end up not paying as much as a percentage as people in the middle class area or upper middle class. But I wouldn't call the upper middle class rich. They just are comfortable. Oh man, the economy is so destroyed. There's just so much nuance that needs to be addressed in these questions. For example, as a streamer, I get taxed quite a bit and I don't get insurance. This test sucks. I'd almost feel more comfortable if it was on a number scale, 1 to 5 versus to agree or disagree. Ugh. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. This is my personal bias, but I had to have medically necessary surgery and I was under Obamacare at the time and my surgery got botched and I still have those scars today. And now to get them fixed, it would be considered cosmetic surgery. It's really freaking stupid. But if I had had a higher standard of medical care, even though I was under Obamacare, it probably wouldn't have got messed up in the first place. I will concede that this is my personal bias on this one. If you have a private insurance, you should be able to have maybe first dibs on the doctor that you want. If you like the doctor, then you should be able to go to them. But as far as standards of care, I think that the standard of care for everyone should be high. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I think I strongly agree with that. Monopolies are bad, bad, bad. I don't think abortion should be illegal, but I don't think it should be celebrated. I think that women need to really understand the severity of abortion better. So I think authority should be questioned, yes. But I'm not going to strongly agree with that because appeal to authority isn't always bad. Sometimes it's good to rely on your philosophers and teachers, scientists, doctors to give you information, but everyone should have a healthy amount of skepticism until they know all of the facts, or at least understand as much of the facts as they can so they can make an informed decision on what to do. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Yep. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I think that theaters and museums are really important, actually, to our society and to our culture. I think it raises happiness. It keeps people artistic, and theater is something that, AI can't replace. And so for that, I really appreciate it. And museums are important because they teach you history. Like I said before, I mean, I'm extremely skeptical on who runs things, right? Who is putting the history in the museums? Like, is it historically accurate, or is it just like the JFK museum was historically accurate? And like theaters, what are the plays they're showing, right? What kind of propaganda is it? I do think that a portion of money in a city should go towards keeping its performing arts alive. I do think that. But, I have a minor in theater, so, schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I think that requiring attendance makes children have a sense of responsibility, understand responsibility. But then again, schools are becoming corrupt, and the people that are running school districts with their wallets are actively trying to hurt children these days. So my knowledge of the world is really tainted my ability to even have a strong opinion on some of these things, because there's so many outliers and so many situations that require nuance. I kind of have to go with this survey as I'm in a society with the best case scenario, right? It is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Like I said, I've lived in Asian countries, I've lived in European countries, and I've lived in America. I have experienced high levels of prejudice and racism for how I look and how I talk, to the point where it has been dangerous for me. I've been followed by groups of men before. We live in a world that it's not very safe to walk around as a female. Melting pots are great. I believe in cultural diversity, yes. But I also think that divide and conquer is accurate as well. And I think it's completely your choice if you want to live somewhere that makes you comfortable. People need to have their own tribes of people that have similar values. The Dilbert writer, where he had that anonymous survey, and the results to that were shocking. Multicultural melting pots are great as long as you also feel like you are represented too. As far as keeping to your own kind, stay with and around people that have your similar worldviews, your values, and you'll feel safe and more comfortable in the long run. And that doesn't have anything to do with skin color. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I don't think you should ever hit your kids. I mean, I wouldn't just let my child be violent to me, but violence doesn't fix violence either. Well, I mean, some secrets, if we're talking about who they have a crush on, or they say they're going over to their friends to study and they go to a concert or a party, that's to be expected. But again, it's very vague. In general, yeah, of course, it's natural for children to keep secrets from their parents. But in today's world, where schools do not have to disclose whether their child is trans at school or not, that's taking away control from the parents completely. So in general, I agree. But in today's climate, politically, I disagree. I hope that my children will be open with me about everything. If I am doing this thinking that we live in a happy utopia where teachers are not keeping their LGBTQI agenda from the parents, then yes, I agree. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. The prime function should be to teach them critical thinking and history and philosophy. I actually agree with this, because in a world where children do not accept discipline, you find children policing adults, and it becomes 1984. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. No, because that takes away from the accountability of the individual. So before you get up in arms about me trying to call certain peoples savages, I believe in individual accountability. Individuals justify heinous behavior in the name of culture. When you are troubled, it's better to not think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. No, that is what we call deflection. And that leads to sociopathic behavior. It is important to stay busy with good things too. You shouldn't just not do anything and just like think about it and let it take over your mind. Yeah, so think about it. Don't just distract yourself, because that will turn into coping behavior, which can be detrimental down the line. So feel your feelings, think about them, talk it out with a therapist, talk it out with your family, close friends, and then you'll be able to focus on these things that you like to do more anyway. You'll have better results in the long run. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated with their new country. What? What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Ha 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 ha. Ha. I disagree. Civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Do I understand that question right? Yes, I think so. I think there should always be pushback for ideas. Only wrongdoers need to be worried. That's what they want you to think. One must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I very much agree with the idea of a Socratic republic, where there is a certain degree of listening to our philosophers, our teachers. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art. I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment down below. I think as our society shifts and things change in our country, that it is natural for people's beliefs to mature and change over time. There's something I put that you disagree with. Try to debate and convince me otherwise. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. See, again, this is vague and requires nuance. Like when it comes to drugs, we should be focused on rehabilitation 100%. When it comes to the abuse of children, rehabilitation is not an option. It is a waste of time to rehabilitate criminals. Yeah, some criminals. That's the key word here. It's a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals. I agree with that. I have experienced evil of the worst kind, a child abuser, and there is nothing that will rehabilitate him. He is evil through and through. Nothing will ever change him. So, disagree. Others may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. I mean, I very much believe in the traditional idea of femininity. The older I get, the more I realize that I want to stay home and have a family. And there's nothing wrong with that. If I have a partner and I get the opportunity for the career of my dreams, working as a creative lead for a major production company, I would ask my partner to be the homemaker so I could go pursue my dream. But I think for the most part, like in general, like going after a career is not meant for me. And I think that in the long run, most women would be happier not having to commit themselves to the grind. That might be a controversial opinion, but like I said, I'm not saying give up on your dreams, but I'm also saying don't give up the opportunity to maybe have a great family and be able to have the ability to just relax and live your life how you want it while your partner is the one that provides for you. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to do that. I also don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to have a career as a woman either. So I agree. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I think I learned this actually at Disney World of all places. There are some like precious earth metals that are created to make cell phones that are destroying the environment in the Congo. I'm pretty sure I learned that while I was at Animal Kingdom. I don't know if that really can be counted as a reliable source, but I do recall that. So, I mean, I guess that could be technically unethically exploiting plant resources of developing countries. So I'm going to go with agree, but I'm also going to admit that I don't really know enough about this subject. So if you know anything more about this, please let me know down below in the comments. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Kevin Miha de Dade. Astrology accurately explains many things. You cannot be moral without being religious. I disagree with that, I think. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. That sounds a lot like gaslighting the public to help people instead of the government being responsible for its people. Some people are naturally unlucky. Mathematically, people are going to be unlucky. The law of large numbers. It's important that my child's school instills religious values. It says religious values instead of religious beliefs. And I do believe that religious values are pretty important. I think there's a lot of good that can be taken from the Bible. I'm personally not religious like that, but I respect you and I respect your faith. But I don't think that school should be a place for faith. Outside of marriage is usually immoral. I disagree with that, especially since my whole generation of women were propagandized into hookup culture under the guise of women's liberation, which really only benefited terrible men who were trying to take advantage of them. To say someone is immoral because they were wrapped up in a culture that wants to chew women up and spit them out, like, that's not fair. Same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. I hope that I find an amazing partner one day to have children. If I fall in love with a woman and we want to adopt, I would not want to be turned down for adoption because I'm gay. Of course, when there are horrible horror stories like the Zolox, which I will link right here if you guys have not heard about the Zolox story. And with the LGBT kind of losing acceptance in society because of how many horrible things are coming out about the community, I'm not really surprised by this question. I do think that there are plenty of amazing gay relationships that just want to have and raise a child in the most supportive and best way they can. Depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. The more I learn about prawn and how it affects the minds of people, I think it depicts that kind of relationship completely inaccurately. I think it is horrible stereotypes. I think it leads people down a path of like feeling numb to one thing, so they look for things that are more and more intense over time. I think it messes with you mentally. I think it messes with you emotionally and physically eventually too. Should it be legal? I guess I'll agree that it should be legal, but I don't think that it should be as readily available. I don't think we should be inundated with it on our social media feeds. I think we need to gatekeep it a little bit because it is destroying the minds of young people. It's even worse for Gen Z. You know, bring it back to when you had to go into a shop in the back of the store and find a VHS tape, you know? Take it back to those days. Or like magazines, you know, that kind of thing. Like having it just like easily, readily available on your fingertips all the time for free, like and at a moment's notice and like high def, it's just, that's the problem. Like having it being legal is not the problem. I think we need to make it more difficult to acquire. No one can feel naturally homosexual. What? These days openness about this has gone too far. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Oh boy, here we go. Here's the results. Well, looky there. Leftist libertarian. Who would have thunk? So why are people calling me a right-wing extremist turf bigot again? Oh yeah, maybe because the far left is so left that everything else seems right-wing. If you like this video, make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment down below on how you scored and on what you thought about my answers. You can join the Discord. I'll put a link down below with all of my socials. I hope you guys all have an amazing day today. Take care of each other, and I will see you next time. Okay, hi again. Editor Ellie. Yeah, while I was editing this video, I decided to do another quiz to see if this one is biased or not. And I got populist right. So yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I believe what I believe and I feel what I feel. So I guess this just proves that like the pendulum swings and I'm willing to be on whatever side I align with the values on, and I guess it depends on who's asking what the values are. Also, a shout out to anyone who takes this test and gets the stressed sideliners. I see you, I feel you, you are valid too. Oh man, see you in the next video.